Hi, everybody. Thanks for joining us this evening. This is John. I am the event coordinator here at Murder by the Book. And if you've tuned into any of our virtual events that we've done with us, as opposed to Sarah DeVello and Mystery Thriller Mavens, you'll see that I have a different backdrop. I'm actually in the store this evening, so we're excited to be coming to you live from Murder by the Book. It has been a while since we have done a virtual event. Now that we've been back to doing them in store, it's been hard to schedule both. And so I'm so excited about tonight's event. For those of you who have been following along for a while, you'll know that I am a big fan of the Lucy Stone mysteries, and I'm so excited to talk with Leslie Meier about them. Before we get into them, I just wanted to mention a couple of things that we have got going on. This Saturday, April 29th, is Independent Bookstore Day. So at 2 o'clock, we will be doing an in-store version of our next Murder by the Book Recommends. So we've got a couple of new staff members here, Mike and Kaylee. They'll be sharing some of their favorite reads of all time, as well as a couple of favorite upcoming releases, and the rest of us will be sharing some recent stuff that we've loved. Cozy wise, if you are fans of cozy mysteries, upcoming, we're going to have Colleen Cambridge in the store on May 5th to talk about her new book, which features Julia Child as an amateur sleuth. Nancy Coco and Emmeline Duncan are going to be here on June 10th here in store. We're super excited on June 27th. Miranda James, who, as some of you might know, used to be the manager here at the store for years, is going to be back with us for the first time pre-COVID. We're so excited to launch his new book, Kiss Me Deadly, on June 27th. So please make sure you come see that. We're also working on something with Ellery Adams. So hopefully we will have some more information about that as well. I already see some familiar faces popping up in the chat. Hi, Gail. Thanks for tuning in. While I am chatting with Leslie tonight, if you guys have any questions for her about these, the new Lucy Stone, any of the previous books, writing, any of that stuff, please post those in the comments on Facebook or the live chat on YouTube, and we will get to those in a bit. Leslie's newest book is Mother of the Bride Murder, and if you order a copy from Murder by the Book, she's been kind enough to send us some book plates. I don't know if you can see it. It says Greetings from Tinker's Cove. So we do have signed book plates. I'll drop a link where you can order those in the comments. I'm going to actually pull up the website so I can do that right now. But like I said, if you guys have any questions tonight, please share them, and we will make sure that we have time to get to them. For now, I'm going to bring Leslie on and get us started. There we go. How are you tonight, Leslie?
Hi. Thanks so much for having me.
Thanks for joining us. So officially, as I said, Mother of the Bride Murder just came out today. And Leslie Meier is the acclaimed author of over 25 Lucy Stone mysteries. She has also written for Ellery Queen's Mystery Magazine. And like her series protagonist, Lucy Stone, she worked as a New England newspaper reporter while raising her 3 children. She is currently at work on the next Lucy Stone mystery. And I'm seeing lots of people. We've got someone's watching from California. We've got Gail tuning in from Leslie Meier Country up there in Maine as well. We got New Hampshire represented, so we've got a good crowd here. So to get us started, can you tell us a little bit about Lucy and what she's up to in this newest adventure?
Well, this is my COVID book. I wrote this during the year of COVID, and while I was stuck in my house wearing my mask and rubber gloves and washing my groceries, I sort of teleported myself to France for Lucy. And so Lucy and I went to France for the marriage of her oldest daughter, Elizabeth, who readers know lives in France. And I thought this was I know this from my own experience raising a family. Your kids get older, they sort of drift apart, they drift away, they live in faraway places. And sometimes they even become, their values and attitudes and things change from what they were when we were all together. So I thought, well, it'd be great if Lucy could get her whole family together in France for Elizabeth's wedding. And so that was the idea behind it.
So this isn't the first time that you've taken the series out of Tinker's Cove. We've gone to France, we've gone to England, we've gone to New York. So she definitely has traveled. So do you approach books that are set outside of Tinker's Cove differently than you do the ones that are set in the town?
Well, I would like it if I could actually go to the place that I'm writing about. That would be a big advantage. But this time, I have in the past. I know a trip I took with my daughter turned into British tea murder, maybe English tea murder, and other trips have turned into trip to France turned into I think it was French pastry murder, but this one I couldn't go, So I had a big book, French chateaus, which I used. And I sort of picked and chose things I liked about the different chateaus and created my own imaginary chateau.
Nice. So, and this one, because Lucy is not in Tinker's Cove, she's not able to use her usual cast of characters to help her get information. What kind of research did you do into like the police procedures in France versus the police procedures that she would already be familiar with?
I did a little, the internet was great. I got stuff off the internet for the things I didn't know about. I love Cara Black's books about Paris, and
Yeah.
Aimé Leduc. So I picked up a certain. I hope she's accurate because I stole from her a little bit about the the procureur who leads the investigations and things. So I think I may have verged a little bit into caricature, but it's hard not to when you can't actually be there.
Yeah. So in your bio, we mentioned that you are also a former news reporter, and in the series, Lucy finally gets her job with the paper a couple of books in. So what made you decide, as you had already started the series, to bring in your own reporting background for her as a job?
Well, I guess it was because I had a reporting background, and when I started, I wasn't I wasn't working as a reporter. I was substitute teaching, which is a sort of a assignment into not really appropriate for books anyway. And the reporting, it just I did two that were not that where she was kind of looking to. Actually, in the second one, I think she has a baby, just kind of partly just because she doesn't quite know what else to do with her life, and then she gets hired by the paper, and which was similar to my experience when I started working for the newspaper. I just I apparently had a knack for it, and I just couldn't believe how much fun it was. And they paid me money, a small amount, but they actually paid me money. And then every Thursday I'd see my stories in the paper, with a byline. And I just thought, and I also took the pic. It was you had to do everything. I took the pictures too. And it was, I just loved it so much. So, but I never had any murders to investigate, alas. Some maybe minor corruption, but never a murder.
So also one of the things that I love about the series is, everybody kind of jokes, especially with kind of longer series and cozy mysteries, that, we kind of get sort of that Cabot Cove syndrome where no small town could, deal with this many murders. One of the things that I love about the series is that you sort of just completely ignore that. Like there are a couple of times in the book where some of the characters are like, "Oh, we don't live in the big city. How do these things how do these things happen here?" And it's like, did you forget like the 12 other murders that have happened? So was that a conscious choice for you to just sort of start every book like there had not been several murders previous books before?
Yeah. Well, actually, after so many books, and especially also my kids growing, the kids, not my kids, but Lucy's kids growing up, and well, I figured out at one point that Miss Tilly is now 130 years old. So we had to. So I'm sort of in a holding pattern, and we're sort of all staying the same now. And each story, Lucy can't get any older, Miss Tilly certainly can't get any older. Yeah. The kids. I can move them along a little bit, but not too much. But it's the same with the murders. I actually raised my family and lived in and still live in fairly small town in Massachusetts, and I guess we're sort of immune to bad things. Don't knock wood here, but bad things don't really seem to happen in our little towns, and I sort of tried to capture that in the books, even though, of course, it's a murder mystery. Once I got a nasty letter from a lady who was very upset because someone died in the book. I think it was called Christmas Cookie Murder. So I don't know what she thought was going to happen, but I have to kill somebody. I'm sorry. And,
right.
But I try to make it a person that we're not really going to miss.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah, I love that, like you said, they're kind of suspended in time, and that, it's been really a fun way, as we were talking before we went live, to sort of see how the series has progressed to Lucy starting off as a reporter to learning like how to use the internet and kind of more contemporary technology. And it's been really fun to see that, and also to see how her family grows, because so much in the cozy mystery subgenre, we usually see our heroine is a younger woman who has either just been fired from her job, or she's dealing with some sort of heartbreak and she's moving somewhere to start over. I really loved that in this series, we actually get to see a character who's already rooted in her community, who has a family, and getting to see kind of that family grow over the course of a series has been really wonderful.
Yeah, I really will. That's something readers seem, when I get feedback from readers, that's something that they really like. They like that I remember I was at a library one night and a woman came up and said, I just love that family, so I love them too.
And I also love that we get to see Lucy and Bill's relationship. It just seems so real, because you get to see as she starts working as a reporter, as Bill is more irritated that she's taking a job out of the house and dinner isn't on the table, and how they'll get into these arguments. But then like 3 or 4 pages later, they're cuddling up together on the couch and disappear to the bedroom. It's really great to see them have such a wonderful, well-rounded relationship to get both aspects of the tension and the happiness.
Yeah, I think, yeah. But I also, when I started writing, the social atmosphere is a little different. And I never, when I graduated from college, I never really thought I was going to I got married right away. I didn't think I was going to ever have to do anything besides get dinner on the table at 6 o'clock. Yeah. But things have certainly changed. My girls are, my daughter is, and Lucy's girls are very career minded.
Yeah. So as we have gotten into the series, the first couple weren't specifically holiday themed, but as we've moved in, they tend to be more holiday themed, or if they're not, like this one, Mother of the Bride Murder, they revolve around some kind of celebration or event. Can you talk a little bit about how that process evolved for you?
Yeah, you're right. The first two, the first one was a Christmas one, Mistletoe Murder. It was originally called Mail Order Murder. So that was Christmas. That was the only thing I knew about Well, I knew 2 things about writing. You should write what you know, and that a lot of books get sold around Christmas time. that was the beginning. I've hopefully learned a lot since then. But then I think the third book was I think a Halloween. I think I sort of moved into Halloween, and it gives a nice structure to a book. And the other good thing about it is, I notice when I go to my library that they pull out the books from the shelves, faithfully every year as the holidays roll around. So from a marketing standpoint, it's good. But it also really, I think, an event or something like a wedding or some kind of party. Those kind of things do sort of lend themselves to a nice structure you can kind of hang your story around. I don't like to just, I've just been actually reading, I don't like mysteries where all the people do is talk about who did it. Maybe this one did it, maybe that one did it. And I like mysteries where there's a lot of meat, a lot of real life in the story.
It's also a really clever way, like you said, like if there's a Christmas festival or there's it's a great way to get more people into the town that you could potentially bump off, and you have more suspects, and you have more potential victims as well.
It's so true. I hadn't thought of it that way. That's a good idea. Bring them, import the victim. My plan used to be to leave town to give everybody a break, like to go to France or England or someplace. But now I think that's good. I can just bring them in.
So do you have a favorite holiday? Is there one that's your personal favorite, and is there one that you like to write more than the others?
Well, I do like Halloween. Halloween was because, well, I think I've even put this in the books. It's a nice holiday because all you have to do is slap on a mask and get a bag of candy. And Christmas is such a maybe not so much these days, but it used to be such a challenge for women. There was just so much you had to do. It was the Christmas competitions were often running, cookie parties and all kinds of things. But the one my editor wanted me to write, and I really resisted for a long time, an Easter story, an Easter mystery. And I would keep telling him, no, it's too, I'm not going there. That's, it's a sacred holiday. I'm just not touching that one. Yeah. But he kept saying, well, you can make it secular. You can make it secular. So I did, and I killed the Easter bunny.
I was about to say, and I love that when you finally did, you have the Easter bunny dropping dead in front of a group of children at an egg hunt. It's just fantastic.
That was terrible, really.
I always tell people that my favorite holiday is Thanksgiving, kind of for the same reason that you like Halloween, because like you get to be with family, or if you have chosen family and you do a Friendsgiving, and literally all you have to do is potentially show up and help cook and eat and maybe clean up afterwards. That's why Thanksgiving is always my favorite.
Yeah, the house I live now in a sort of a 2-family house with my daughter's families on one side and I'm on the other. And the great thing is we now have 2 dishwashers. Nice. And 2 kitchens for Thanksgiving, for holidays. And it makes it so much easier. Everyone should have 2 kitchens, I think.
And so this is, as we mentioned, this is book 29 in the series. But in addition to that, you've also done themed holiday novellas as well with a group of other authors. I think 9 or 10 of those so far. So when you're writing, how do you decide what story is potentially going to be a shorter novella and which one is going to be a full-blown Lucy Stone novel?
Oh, well, this is one of those secrets of publishing. My editor generally gives us the title of the book, and each story has to revolve around whatever it is, like if it's we've done quite a few St. Patrick's Day ones, so those are, but the thing is, I do like it's the novellas are a lot. I find them a lot of fun to write because you can cheat a little bit. The big rule in writing is you're supposed to show, not tell. But in a novella, because of the short length, you can kind of get away with a little bit of telling, and you can sort of zip the story along. And I find they're quite fun to do.
Yeah, they're so fun. I love the one where Lucy ends up going to Florida to visit Elizabeth, and they end up getting involved in a jewel heist. I think that's one of my favorites of the novellas.
I was just thinking about that. I was trying to find a reader requested, asked about that book, and if I had a copy, and I have one copy, and I was thinking about it, and that was one of the first ones I wrote, and that was really a fun one, and that's where she meets her on again off again boyfriend Chris Kennedy, and I was thinking about that. That was a fun story to write, and it was a little bit romantic. Because I think Fern Michaels was the headliner in that book. So we had to make it a little bit romantic. This one.
And I think that they might have republished it in a different, maybe in one of the other Kensington anthologies, and maybe not just that Fern. So it might be available in another one as well.
Oh, I'll have to do a little research.
So Risa wants to know, you mentioned that you had resisted doing Easter because it was a sacred holiday. Do you think that there are any other different religious holidays that you might tackle?
Oh gosh, no. That's dangerous. No, especially since I don't know much about other religions. Maybe I could do a Hanukkah one.
Because as far as I can think of, because every year, because I do the same thing when it's time for holidays to roll around, we put up the holiday display, and there are very few Hanukkah. So if you did a Hanukkah one, there are not a lot of them out there.
Okay, well I'm on it. I can do a Hanukkah one. I grew up in New York City. So. That's a holiday I'm familiar with.
Perfect. Another thing that I really love about these books is, I won't name the author that did it, but maybe a couple of years ago, somebody was talking about how, there are very specific, Risa says, definitely please do a Hanukkah one. She would definitely buy it.
Okay.
So this author had mentioned that like one of the things about cozy mysteries is they didn't really get into either specifically politics, or not even just politics, but kind of real world issues. And one of the things I think that's been a hallmark of the Lucy Stone series is that you really dig into, in a way that not a lot of other lighter cozy mysteries do, the challenges of small towns, whether that's, people being priced out of being able to live there, or you've dealt with the opioid crisis, you've dealt with which we've all dealt with lately. Families trying to stretch their budgets as prices have gone up for things. You've dealt with elder care in a couple of books. What is it, do you think, about kind of mysteries like this that make that such a safe place to tackle issues like that? And why do you think that those are things that you've included in the books?
Well, I think it's because they're there are things that I'm living that affect me. I live actually, but divide my time between two small towns, and these are the things that right now we're battling for better schools. The new school budget is planning 3 study halls a week for middle school students, and we're like, what? Why are you teaching them? So I mean, these are things that just kind of they're real issues that affect everybody. Like housing is now in my Cape Cod house, that is the terrible, I mean, issue. No one can afford to live there. Sort of all the houses have been bought up by summer people. It's and it also those kind of conflicts and they are local conflicts. They do lead to, in my books, to murder. Hopefully not in real life, but they are tense situations that people are frustrated and can be motivational.
Yeah, and it gives such a richness and just to the books, and just makes them feel more real. And so specifically in this one, Mother of the Bride Murder, as everybody gets to France and they get to the chateau, we find out that there is a brothel on the property or next to the property, and there may or may not be some sex trafficking going on. So has there ever been an issue or something that you've wanted to broach in a book where your editor has maybe asked you to back off or maybe lessen it at all?
Oh, no, he told me I can write whatever I want.
Nice.
Yeah, so I do.
Good.
And, yeah. I don't know. Also, the Roma, that was an issue in that too. I was, you can tell I was watching a lot of TV at the time, and documentaries and things.
So what was the writing process for you? You said this was sort of your COVID book. Did that and being home more, did that change your writing process at all?
Well, no, I just know I kind of I always do a pretty thorough outline, which and I know a lot of writers like to sort of just wing it, but I'm happier. My process is better if I have a good outline, because I work usually just a couple of hours a morning, but life gets in the way. I was raising a family. I had an ill husband. I had lots of things happening. So if I had the outline, when I have the outline, I can just kind of pick up, I know what I need to do next, kind of, and that doesn't mean I don't change it. I sometimes change things. Sometimes I decide I need to, something needs to be done differently, but by and large, having that outline is really helpful. But I'm an early riser. I get up early. I write a little bit in the morning, and then I spend the rest of the day. I sort of think about what I'm going to do next while I'm doing the dishes. The laundry was always a big part of my process. Folding the laundry.
Mary Chapin Carpenter talks about when she is writing a song, if she gets stuck, she goes what she calls song walking, and she'll just grab the dogs and she'll go for a walk for a dog. And while she's, doing something different, like it clicks in her brain.
Yeah, I walk a lot.
Yeah.
I'm a big walker too. Nathaniel Hawthorne was known for his, many, many hours spent walking.
Yeah. Margaret wants to know if you have any guilty pleasures.
Chocolate. Maybe a little too much Chardonnay. Coffee. Fairly innocent. Guilty pleasures. Yeah.
So
also, well, I can be, with my friends and stuff, I can be rather naughty. I don't always think the best of other people, which is a bad thing. I know that is naughty, but I do love a little gossip.
Well, I'm sure that also comes in handy as a mystery writer as well.
Yes, it does.
So one of the things I was really curious about with this series, as we mentioned before we went live, you wrote the first one, which was then titled Mail Order Murder, back in 1991, and have since then, almost a book every year. When you first started writing, were cozy mysteries kind of a thing or a subgenre like they are now?
Well, not as much, I don't think.
Yeah.
I always loved the books by, now I'm not sure I have her name right, Charlotte McLeod.
Yeah.
Yeah, I always loved Sarah Kelling, I think was her, the
Yeah.
Boston ones. I didn't like the other, but I love books like that. I loved books by Agatha Christie. I guess Agatha and sort of got me. Those were the books. Oh, but as a girl, I read Nancy Drew like crazy. I was just reading a thing by Nancy Bloom and about Nancy Bloom, and she said that you could get Nancy Drew books for a quarter when they first came out.
Yeah.
She's older than I am, but I was thinking, darn it, I think they were at least $1, maybe two by the time I was buying them.
Yeah.
So anyway, so those were but I think I think thanks to partly to Kensington, the genre really has exploded.
Yeah. So it's interesting. So as I'd mentioned before, maybe even when we got started, I picked up the first one in the series in September of 2020, and I just loved it. I loved how they had a lot of the hallmarks of cozy mysteries, but you also included some elements that weren't kind of as cozy. Like we have one where Lucy goes to New York and is maybe exposed to anthrax. We've gotten a book where she's gotten kidnapped by a cult. She's definitely had run the gamut of experiences, which is so much fun. And one of the things I love about picking up a Lucy Stone book is that you sort of never really know kind of what trouble Lucy is going to get herself into, because she definitely seems to find herself in a lot of trouble.
Yeah, she does. I don't know. I'm kind of mean to her.
But so as the cozy subgenre had kind of sorted to explode in a way that it hadn't, did you feel, or were you more aware of sort of the rules of cozy mysteries? And is that something that you are aware of, or are you just writing the book that you want to write and you kind of let the publisher deal with the rest of that?
I don't really know the rules. I just kind of write what I want to write. I don't.
Yeah.
I haven't had too much, because I haven't. I can't say he's ever really asked me to change anything.
Yeah.
There's, yeah. I guess we're just rule breakers. We're gonna. Actually, he likes that about it. John. He said, John Scolamilio, he's my editor. He said something about that I'm sort of pushing the boundaries.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's a good thing to do.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and you do it in in such a, again, you get all the hallmarks of it, and you do it sort of in that safe, cozy setting. But it's always fun to see how you kind of throw in these other elements to it. So Suzanne wants to know, do you have any new Halloween books in the future?
Halloween? No, I don't. No, I could, but no. The next novella. What have I always get confused because I'm always a little ahead of myself.
Yeah.
The last novel full-length novel is called Patchwork Murder, and it sort of had a patchwork quilt theme, but it's in it. It deals with it's something that I've sort of encountered quite a bit, where among my friends and people, that like young people in their 20s, sort of starting out in life and then having mental difficulties. So it kind of goes into that. Lucy's friend Pam's son has a breakdown, and they sort of, and so the patchwork quilt becomes kind of how they're how the family and the community are sort of, and also the boy are sort of piecing themselves back together. So that one, not Halloween. And then I did an Easter. I have another Easter one, and then Irish Coffee was the latest novella that's out now. Irish Coffee, Step Dancing.
So you mentioned Pam. Lucy has this really great collection of the whole series has this really great collection of secondary characters. But Lucy has her group of friends that she meets for coffee every week so they can catch up. So are those people based on anybody in your own life?
Yeah, they really are. Yeah, a little bit. Uh, uh, there were four of us that would get together. We called ourselves Ladies Who Lunch. And we get together about once a month. Well, not as often as Lucy's group, but about once a month. And we'd, yeah, it was, and I think I think that those kind of relationships are very important for women. Because you sort of know you're going to be outliving your husband, and you sort of count on that you have a circle of supportive friends
Yeah.
to be with you.
Yeah. And so
in your old age.
So do you have a favorite secondary character in the series, someone other than Lucy that you love to write?
Well, I do have a soft spot for her youngest daughter, Zoe. And actually, I really, I can't have just one. I love Bill. I love her friends. I love Miss Tilly. I love all of her children. Maybe not, a little bit. Toby and Molly are sort of out there. They're sort of outliers, but yeah, that happens too.
Yeah. So Toby and Molly, we get to see them and we get to spend some more time with them in this book than we have in a while since they are up in Alaska. So can you talk a little bit about his evolution as a character? Like you said, he's a little bit of an outlier, kind of living up there in Alaska. Can you talk a little bit about him and their relationship?
Well, he was the boy in the family. And I can't remember which book it was, but I remember he had quite a bit of conflict with his father, Bill, and he was kind of a little bit of the black sheep of the family. Yeah. He didn't finish college. He sort of ran off and got married, and then but then he did finish college, and he's become a fisheries manager in Alaska, and they've kind of gone off on a little bit of a survivalist tear. He and Molly and Lucy only has the one little grandchild, Patrick. So that's why Mother of the Bride. I am working on another bridal shower murder. That's the one I'm working on now. So there is hope.
Ooh, that's exciting.
Yeah. That is, yeah. So that one's about Zoe's Zoe's engagement.
Nice.
But she did not have her. No. Yeah. She was in the one invitation only murder. She had the unfortunate love affair.
Yeah. So Suzanne also wants to know, she says, I love Zoe and I love Miss Tilly, but she wants to know what's going to happen to Libby the lab since Libby is getting up there. Is she also in sort of that Stone family stasis where she's just going to hang out?
No.
Oh no.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry. There's a funeral. Yeah. Okay. A funeral in Patchwork, I think. Okay. I think it's in Patchwork Cove. Yeah.
Well, we have been warned.
I'm sorry.
Ourselves.
Oh, Suzanne, I'm so sorry. Maybe we'll have a puppy. Maybe.
Let's see. I'm just going to scroll up through here and see if we've got any other. So speaking of Toby and kind of talking about how, you're able to kind of push. There's one book before Toby has gotten married and run off where, he's a murder suspect. And like, as I was reading it again, like sort of that, like, you kind of never know what you're going to get when you pick up. Like there was a moment where I was like, oh my God, is Leslie Meier going to make poor Toby a murderer? Is this really going to happen?
No, but I'm just, no, I raised two rather rambunctious boys. Neither one was ever accused of murder, but there were encounters with the police. So I guess I was just kind of taking my current situation and extrapolating and making it worse.
So when you started the series, all the way back when we started with Mail Order Murder, did you write that book envisioning that you were going to be writing a series, or were you thinking?
No. That was when I was substitute teaching. And I was terrified of the kids. So mostly they knew that, I guess, when they gave me assignments. So I would get like usually kids who were like AP students or top top students, and so they were perfectly happy to have a period to catch up on their work. And so I started writing the mail order murder just to keep myself busy and to avoid encounters with the students. You know, hand out the bathroom pass. That was really all I wanted to do. So that was.
So what's one thing that has kind of surprised you? Are you surprised that you're still, 29 books in, still writing
Are
this?
you kidding? Who would believe it? I don't know. I know. I'm sort of embarrassed about it, to tell you the truth. I opened up one of my books recently, and there was this long list of titles, and I thought, oh my gosh, I really got to stop. I've got to get a grip here. But I really can't. I really can't. I'll keep writing them as long as they'll let me, because I just love doing it. It's really,
and that definitely comes across in them. Is there? So Amanda wants to know: do you have a favorite of your books? Are you able to pick one?
Usually, the one I'm working on is my favorite, because you really do sort of get immersed in it and start. You're sort of living the story as you're writing it, and it's so. I was very happy today. I had some pretty I thought it was pretty snappy dialogue, and I was reading it aloud to myself, chuckling away as I was writing it. So that was,
And so, since you have such a long series and you have such a great cast of characters, do you keep like a series Bible that you can refer back to?
No, I don't. I sometimes do have to go poking about in the books, to find a name, or because I like to bring back characters and for the community feeling and stuff. But sometimes I have to go do a little research. But it's good. Sometimes I'm surprised. Sometimes I can't believe I wrote that. What was I thinking?
So as we mentioned, kind of each book, you sort of reset the body count for Tinker's Cove. So has there been do you approach the novellas in a different way for people to be able, because in theory people are going to potentially pick those up not having read the other ones. They're picking up because there's a Joanne Fluke story in it. So do you approach those in a different way to be able to introduce people to the series than you do if it's another book in the series?
Maybe in the early ones. Now I think I just try to make them a freestanding. I try to make all the books freestanding. Like if you read the series, you would know that, but I think each book stands on its own, and especially it's not that hard to, just give a few introductory, paragraphs, and you kind of get up and rolling. You can't do too much of that. You have to you want to get the story. Well, it's a little bit of a juggle, because you want to give people information, but you also want to get the story off the ground, So get a flying start.
Yeah. So Suzanne also wants to know, so what about Sue? Are she and Lucy still best buddies?
Oh, yes. Sue, and Sue is, Sue has, I think I should, actually in Bridal Shower, Sue plays a bigger part, because she's such a social butterfly and she knows how to organize things and stuff. So Sue has a bigger part in this one.
Can you tell us a little bit about the Hat and Mitten Fund? Was there a real life inspiration behind that?
Oh yeah, the little library. My husband was a trustee or a board member in a very small library in our town. It was open on, like, I think Tuesdays and Fridays, something like for 2 hours each day, something really limited like that. It was a very small library, but they always had a Christmas tree, and and it would be decorated with hats and mittens that people made, and so that was the beginning of the Hat and Mitten Fund.
Awesome.
Which has grown now. I mean, much more than just hats and mittens. Mm-hmm. I haven't used them lately. I have to throw them in too. This is good. I should be taking notes.
I think you mentioned, because you mentioned them briefly in Irish Coffee Murder, because I think they were looking at when they were trying to,
help some money, help the lady with her broken down car.
So Amanda wants to know, do you stay on one book or novella until it's finished, or do you bounce back and forth between multiple?
Oh no, one at a time. Yeah, one at but well, not exactly, because I usually write. I try to get the novel pretty much wrapped up by the end of the summer, and then I do a quick read through and edit, and then I sort of let it sit, and then I start the novella, and then after I've kind of got the first draft of the novella done, then I go back and do the final edit of the, so it's sort of a little bit of a, yeah. And one time though, what happened, the publishing schedule got switched around, and I had something happen in one of the books, and I had to take it out because the readers of the other book wouldn't have known it had happened. It was something like that. It was kind of a little bit, we got ahead of ourselves, I guess.
So from start to finish, how long does it take you to write a Lucy Stone? You said if you try to wrap up summer, when do you usually start them?
Well, I start, we have this little thing. The books are usually due the end of December. So I always, my editor and I have a little thing, and he reads, I try to get him the book before the Christmas break. So
yeah.
He can read it on the Christmas break. And a couple of times it's been changed. And I've always fought to get that back. I think that's kind of like the catbird seat, if you can have him read it then. So the books, so how does it go? So novellas are usually due in March. So it's kind of, so I can't start. So say I finished, I finish the novella, I get the novella in by March, and then I start outlining the novel, and then I start writing the novel, and say that takes between outlining and everything probably about 6 months, something like that. So then I have a couple of months in the fall to get the novella started, and the trouble is this has been a problem for me, and it's you get too close to something, and I've always been a really fast reader, like a skimmer. So I really want to present a tight, proper manuscript without errors and stuff. So I like to let it sit a bit, like let bread rise or something, and then I get back to it sort of with fresh eyes, so I can really clean it up and get it in really good shape when I send it in. And then I'm finishing up the novella, and then we start the whole thing all over again.
Yeah. So it's been a while since I've paid attention, because the last couple have been kind of early in the year holidays. So does your pub date change? Like if you're doing, like if it's a Halloween one, do they try to put those out later in the year, or do they keep you in kind of the same?
No, the dates are all over the place. That's why I have I have a couple, and that's the other thing that they sort of that's the thing that will sort of throw me off my stride, is I'll really be getting going on a novel and loving it, and then I'll get a copy edited manuscript I have to go through, and which is like the book I'm done with that one, but now I have to go through it and make any corrections and things that they want. So that's kind of a thing that pops up. But I think I have it's this last year or so, there's been kind of a gap because trying to get the books out at the right time of year. So it's been a bit of a space between them, I think.
And so we mentioned a little bit of kind of early inspirations, reading Agatha Christie and Charlotte MacLeod. So now, if you're picking up a book and you want to read something for pleasure, are you reading in the mystery genre? What are you picking up if you just wanted to escape for something?
Oh, golly. I just read, I love Kate Atkinson, and she does have mysteries, but I just read her Shrines of Gaiety and just loved it. And I do love books that take me someplace else, especially someplace I've been. And I read this wonderful book called Still Life by a woman named Sarah Winman, and it was set in Florence. And I just love Florence, Italy. It's just a place and this was wonderful because as I was reading it, I could imagine the places, and it was just, and also she's a very clever writer who would kind of throw in little references to other books and things, and it sort of also revolved around Ian Forster's book, A Room with a View, which they made into a movie, which is like my favorite movie of all time. And so it was just a real delight having all of those different things all jumbled up in one book. I really highly recommend it. It was a wonderful book. I read it twice.
So if anybody's interested in it, I just dropped a link to Still Life in the comments. Check out. I'm also dropping a link to the event page. So if you guys want to order copies of Mother of the Bride Murder, as I mentioned, we do have signed book plates to go with it. Any thoughts about taking Lucy to Italy since you mentioned loving it so much?
Yeah, I know I should. I think when I go to Italy, I think it's just pure vacation, you know. I just kind of revel in it. But of course I don't know. I can't compete with Sarah Winman. that was a masterpiece. But you know, it's something to think about.
Mm-hmm. So when you do the novellas, do you get to read the other people's?
No.
So everybody's just kind of writing blind and turning in their own?
Yeah, that's exactly how we do it. We did a Zoom recently. I don't know. I forgot exactly why, but it was the first time I'd actually seen Lee Hollis. Lee Hollis is two people, and I got to, and I saw that he's in California, and I got to see. It was the first time I'd seen him, and I have met Barbara Ross and worked with, and you know, been done panels and things with her. So I knew Barbara, but I didn't know. It was great. It was great fun to talk to it would be nice to be able to do it more often, but we just sort of all work. That is one of the hard things about being a writer, I think, is I always sort of envy painters. I know some painters, and they have a little group, and they all go off and they paint together, you know. And not writers. We all sneak off into our little dark corners and scribble away all by ourselves.
You have to put together a main writers retreat and get everybody up there together, and you know hang out
it's like I don't think there is a main writers group, and I'm sure but they don't include me because I'm really in Massachusetts pretending I'm in Maine. I'm a fake.
So then you mentioned kind of living in two small towns. What was the decision to set Tinker's Cove in Maine?
Oh, that was just silly. My mother said, I started writing, my mother said, well, you don't want your neighbors to think that you're writing about them. You better place it someplace else. So I did. And it was funny because I hadn't really been to Maine much. And so I would be writing, and I would really be writing about Cape Cod, and then I go through the manuscript, and every time I put down Sandy, I cross it out and put in Rocky. But then my daughter married a fellow who his family has a cabin in Maine, and we started, staying, really kind of getting a lot more familiar with Maine. So I have a little bit of Maine cred now, very little, but
a little bit. So have you ever been tempted to do a new series or something else that wasn't Lucy?
I did. I had at one point I was living in Providence, Rhode Island, and I was just so taken with the culture there, the atmosphere, and all. And I knocked off a mystery, and I sent it in, and everybody hated it. My editor hated it. My agent hated it. They all hated it. They said my character was not likable, and I think, and then. And I sort of said, oh, and I've kind of lost the manuscript. But now, on second thought, they've been little feelers like, well, what did you do with that manuscript? Can you find it? And sadly, I can't. I don't know what happened to it. She was a tiger, though. That one, that character, Carol. She was a toughie. Yeah. It was a little different.
Just make sure there's nothing else on here that we did not get to. What has surprised you about the way that Tinker's Cove and the series has grown over the course of 29 books and 9 or 10 novellas.
Well, Tinker's, as Maine has really, in the 20 or so years that I was visiting there, it just changed so much. It became much more gentrified. Now the road the cabin is on has a farm at the end that's kind of a one of those I don't know what you call it, not exactly back to the land, but very very they raise the pigs, they kill the pigs, they make the sausage,
yeah.
Yeah, and it's very sophisticated, and also the signs, where people used to make whirligigs and things like that and set them out on their lawn. Now they're all they're all therapists or yoga teachers or masseuses, things like that. Yeah, it's gotten quite a bit different.
Yeah, it's been interesting to see the town grow, from the first book where, so much of its business came from the mail order company.
Yeah.
And then, being a fishing village, and now, having Bill, do these summer homes for people. And, it's been really interesting to see just how it's changed and evolved, kind of just like the rest of the world has.
Yeah. We see it, especially on Cape Cod. I see that, but also in Maine. It's yeah.
And it's been great to see, though, that you've been able to do that while still also kind of keep that, that small town. Even though now that we have, Ted has 2 newspapers to run and all of that, it's great to see that you've been able to kind of expand on that, but also still kind of keep that wonderful little Tinker's Cove feel to it.
Yeah. Well, I grew up in the Bronx, and everybody, people think it's a big, New York's such a big city, but I lived in a neighborhood called Riverdale. Riverdale had its own little newspaper. We had the Riverdale Press. We had, our churches, and it was a little town inside the big city.
Perfect. So I think that is going to about do it for us for the evening. But before we go, I wanted to recap for everybody who might have tuned in late. We have been chatting with Leslie Meier, whose newest Lucy Stone mystery, Mother of the Bride Murdered, just came out today. We have signed book plates to go with our copies. So if you want to order a copy from Murder by the Book, we've got those. If you missed any part of our chat once we are done, Facebook and YouTube will archive it, so you'll be able to go back and rewatch. You can also check any of our previous virtual events that we've done. We did one with we chatted with Barbara Ross, we chatted with Lee Hollis. So there's a lot of other great cozy stuff out there as well. Leslie, thank you so much for doing us that.
Oh, thank you so much for having me. It's been lovely to talk about my book.
As I said when we got started, being able to read through the series and kind of escape to Tinker's Cove was such a joy throughout COVID, and discovering these books and just being able to binge has meant so much to me. So it's been so great to finally get to sit and chat with you and share my love for the series with everybody else. And I really appreciate it so much.
Well, thank you. Gosh, you're very kind. Thank you.
Thank you. So you take care, and we will talk to you soon.
I hope so. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.